Hello, hello, and good evening. Happy Tuesday. It's time to learn some stuff. It's time to get excited about some stuff. Hope everyone is doing well on this Tuesday evening. I will tell you, both Matt and I must be in a time warp because I know all day long I kept thinking it was Wednesday. Matt was getting ready to do what's new, and we are already both 24 hours ahead. So I guess when you ask for a little more time in your life, sometimes it works out for you. So it is Tuesday, July the 11th. No, the 18th. See, now I'm losing a week. Oh my stars. That's what happens when we have trade shows. So Darlene and I have been in trade shows since Sunday, making stuff, learning stuff, and now it's my turn to share with you. So tonight we are talking about the Spellbinders BetterPress. This is a fairly new product from Spellbinders. It won all kinds of awards at our trade show in March and April. It is one of those hot new tools that I think many of you have your hot little hands on. But if you're still on the fence, maybe tonight will be what changes your mind.
Oh, like Joanne's already.
Joanne's already here and she's loving her better press. That is awesome, Joanne. I hope I'm going to give you lots of ideas tonight to keep you crafting, keep you using this amazing tool, especially as we start heading into the holiday season. Oh, I see Jan loves her better press as well. Um, I think I'm going to make you guys love it even more after you see what I do tonight. But I will also tell you, I have seen the holiday releases, the Halloween releases. I have even played with something from the fall release. This is a better pressed image that I then colored with pencil crayons in our trade show class yesterday. Um, and so let me rewind a little bit. Let me for those of you who have never heard of the Better Press before, have never seen what it can do. This is the device. You can tell mine is well loved
Already.
and smudgy, but oh so usable. This is a device that goes through your manual die cutting machine, and the you attach your paper, you have your better press plate. Let me just grab one out of here on my little magnets here. So these are better press plates. They look like hot foil plates, but they're not. They look like dies, but they're not. What they do is, I guess the best comparison is to imagine it is like one side of an embossing folder. But what this does, because they are metal, it gives you such extreme detail and gives you really excellent impressions because it does. It presses right into the paper. Look at how beautiful and detailed that press plate is. And the idea is that you've got your plate down, and I'll do just a basic impression in just a moment. Your plate goes down, your paper goes on this. This is called the platen, I believe. And then it's got the little plunger feet that when you put it through your die cutting machine, it pushes your paper against the plate with the ink on it so that it transfers the ink, creates the impression in your paper, and just leaves this really beautiful, not only detailed, but very tactile. You can actually feel the impressions in the paper. It gives you a very tactile experience when you are using these. As I said, you can press it and color it. I think one of my little samples here, I was dabbling with watercolor and with Copic markers. So the ink that comes with your Better Press is not alcohol ink friendly, but it does work very well with watercolors, with pencil crayons. that kind of thing. Just the Copic markers, it makes the ink bleed, so you don't want to do that. Um, you can also use the BetterPress plates in your glimmer, but not the other way around. So do not use a glimmer plate in this, but you can use these plates in the glimmer. And look at that beautiful foiled image. And one of my favorite techniques is pressing your image using ink into brushed metal. It does not have quite the same tactile because it is a harder paper, and so you want something nice and soft to be able to work, really get a deep impression with this. But I just love the look of this on the brushed metal. So before I get into what I'm actually going to be showing you tonight, which is, all of these samples, what's the one thing it has in common? These have very plain white or gray, or in this case, gold backgrounds. A lot of the samples you will see out there have that very neutral background, which gives it a very classy, very elegant look. I mean, when you get into coloring it, then you bring in your color and give it a little bit of pizzazz. But my main topic for tonight is showing you how these press plates work on backgrounds. But you know what, let's just do a quick 101. Let me do one quick run through just with the plain cotton paper with the regular ink, just show you how this basic works, or how this works on a basic level. So I'm going to grab a piece of my paper in.
Joanne Noodles that she paints with distress inks.
Oh, Joanne paints with distress ink. That's another way to have that watercolor look. Any of those water reactive inks will work beautifully. So when you get a BetterPress, you do get a selection. It looks like I've used most of my little paper samplers. There is porcelain. There is bisque, which is more of a creamy color. There's not a huge difference. Maybe it's hard to tell because they're not labeled. And then there is Pebble, which is the gray. Maybe I'll do one on Pebble just to show you what it looks like. And I'm going to pull out, just for something different. This is one of my favorites. It's a beautiful butterfly background. This one actually comes with a die, so you can cut the butterflies out as well. So your first step is to take apart your machine and to figure out where you would like your images to go. And just remember, this is the reverse. No, it's not. It's the right way. What am I talking about?
I have no idea.
That says he has no idea what I'm talking about, but that's all good. So I'm going to put it down. Your base does have an A2 panel and an A7, which is a 5x7 kind of marked out on your mat, so that you know exactly where your papers are, or where your impressions are going to go. Let me put the sentiment on as well. So happy for you. So I'm just going to, oh, don't turn it upside down. Turn it right side up. I'm going to just tuck that in there. I'm going to use the grids to help me make sure it's straight. And then using my best ever craft tape, I am going to attach my paper to the platen, and once again, keeping it in that A2 area so that I know where I want it to go is where it's going to go. So just a little bit of tape on the back. I like putting it on the back so that way, even when I take the tape off, if it happens to pull the paper a little bit, then I don't have to worry about it wrecking the front of my surface. All right, so this is ready to go. I need an ink pad. There it is, hiding in the corner of my bucket. So I'm just going to use black. Black comes in your set, or in your kit with your machine. There are two other sets of ink colors. This one here that is more of, I think they're called Regal tones. So brown, or bark, mulberry, cosmic sky, and black. And then this one is called Nature Tones, tawny brown, saffron, wild berry, and French blue. I think with the gray paper, I'm gonna, you know what? You know what? Let's go what crazy. I'm gonna go mulberry. I think the burgundy would look really, really lovely on this. So all I'm gonna do is gonna take my ink pad, and what you want to do is you want to do a slight twisting motion with your ink pad. The magnet is nice and strong. So unless you've got a very delicate little sentiment, which sometimes happens, you shouldn't worry about these moving too much. And there we go. I'm going to get some good coverage. Now, these plates do have a special coating on them, which allows it to accept the ink beautifully. But you do have to move somewhat quickly once you've got the ink on. So now I'm just going to attach these to the magnetic plungers here. And so far the paper has not touched that plate yet. I'm going to come off camera here and just crank it through my Platinum 6. When you're cranking through, don't go fast. We're just going to crank it nice and slow so that it has a chance to make the impression, it has a chance to transfer that ink. And when possible, whenever possible, you do not need to go backwards. You just need to do it the one way. Now try also not to squeeze down as you're lifting up, just in case something has shifted. Get this out of the way. And then I can remove.
While you're going through the, Jan wants to know when the new release is happening.
So Jan is asking, when is the new release? It has been pushed back a little bit at a time. So originally we were going to be able to order it earlier this month. Then it got pushed to the 17th, which was yesterday. It has now been pushed to early next week. And that's when we can order it. Generally, once we order it, it has to go through the processing. Things have been very busy at Spellbinders. So orders are taking a little bit longer. So I placed an order on July 7th and it's still in processing. So soon is probably the easiest and best answer. I'm sorry, Jan, that I can't be any more specific than that.
Hopefully early August.
Hopefully early August, but we will have Christmas and Halloween. Speaking of early August, you guys might want to mark August 12th on your calendar because we just might be having some demos happening. So here is the beautiful butterfly. If you run your hand over it, you can feel that raised surface, and it is absolutely beautiful. But, and then, sorry, yes, and then if I wanted to, I could then take the die and I could cut those out and pop them out. But you know what? One of my things that I like to do is take something that is used for a certain purpose and figure out what other purposes it will do. This is sort of like that in that, okay, well, we've been pressing on some nice, solid, classy, sophisticated, and this is why I put the tape on the back.
What kind of tape is that?
This is the Best Ever Craft tape, and sometimes it's a little sticky when it's first off the roll, so it's all good. It will not be sticky by the time we're done. So I am going to share with you some other things that I've done. So I started out by playing just with ink blending. I love to ink blend. As I'm talking here, I am going to clean off this plate and put it away. You can just use a baby wipe or you can use the Ranger Archival cleaner. That's my new one. My old one is getting a little worse for wear. Learn from what I've done. Try not to rub it too much. Try to just push. And then I take my microfiber cloth here and give it a wipe. Now I know some people don't even clean their plates. If you're getting into doing colors, it's probably a good idea to clean them so you don't get things that are too muddy. And if you do get ink on your magnetic sheet like I have, try to do it quickly, but put a little bit of cleaner on your cloth and then just clean it with your cloth. Or just be okay with a messy magnet. All right, so I love to ink blend. I wanted to see what would happen if I created an ink blended background and pressed on that. So I've got some samples. So I created these guys here. And you want to see it in action? I can do that. So I've created some more. These are just using that Crafter's Companion balloon stencil that Darlene used a few weeks ago. I used some pink fresh ink and of course in our signature green. And the reason why I've got them in two different directions is because one of my favorite plates is this one here. It's called Make a Wish.
You're not showing me anything.
I know, I'm getting there.
Well, we can't say this one here.
This one here, Make a Wish. What I like about it is it's got this funky font and it's got this diagonal cut. So I can put it down for a portrait card. Get it all lined up, use my grids. I'm going to push it down just a little bit. Get it all lined up. Oh, it's dancing on me tonight, guys. There we go. Bring this down. I'm going to put my paper in place.
Joanne wants to know if you're using the same type of paper.
So Joanne is asking what paper I'm using. This time I actually used watercolor paper. My original intention was I was going to do some water splatters on here as well, and then I ended up not. This paper is a little bit more textured than the cotton paper, as most watercolor papers are, but you will find that the watercolor paper is probably the closest, at least in my experience, the closest substitute to the cotton paper. So if you're just playing around and you're trying things, maybe save your cotton paper for once you know it works. The watercolor paper is a little bit more affordable and easier to play with and just try things out.
Alexis just joined us.
Alexis is on the call. Hello, Miss Alexis. Our Alexis, woohoo! All right, so I've got my paper loaded up. No, I want black ink this time. Now with these solid guys, I do find sometimes if you do this twisting motion, I don't know if you can see it very well, but sometimes you get those twisty marks in your ink. So what I do is I twist to get coverage. And you don't want to go fast. You want that ink to really transfer nicely. And yes, I'm getting it kind of all over, but that's okay. That's okay. But then what I do is I go back and instead of twist, I just press. And that helps to get rid of some of those twisty marks that happen from the ink pad. Now you do have to be careful that you've gotten all those areas. It takes a little bit of patience, but there we go. And well, spot there. All right. Now I'm going to flip, gently place it down. And you guys don't need to see it again. I'm going to crank off camera. Nice and slow, especially with some of these larger ones. Nice and slow is always good. All right, are we ready? Are we ready? Whoop. And look at that. So not only do you get that beautiful pattern background, but now you've got this nice solid impression. You've got the texture. One thing to be mindful of is you don't want your ink to be too dark. That's why I really kept it light towards the top and only brought in the dark towards the bottom. But doesn't that just change the whole look of it? It takes something that was very sophisticated and made it really fun. Now, I told you I really like this plate. And I did my two backgrounds, one portrait, one landscape, because I can now take this plate, and yeah, it's still inky. I'm going to get ink all over my hands. That's okay. I'm going to now turn it sideways. And look, it's still going to fit on my A2 card. I just have to scooch it a little bit. That one's right against the edge. Let's come up just a little bit. Unfortunately, the magnet is very strong, which is definitely a good thing, but when you're trying to move things around, it's not always a good thing. And so now I'm going to place my paper on the platen, and I just have to make sure that when I flip it over, so if I flip it over this way, my balloons are going to be upside down. So I have to make sure I go this way and then over. Oh, I got to ink it first though. Ink it.
You forgot a step.
I forgot a step. So here we go. Twisty, twisty. And I mean, you could always just do wish. You don't have to do make a. Just making sure I get good coverage. And it's just like stamping in the sense that you just want to take a look at where you've applied the ink just to make sure everything's covered before you go, because the one thing about this is it's a one and done. You can't go back and try and fix it because lining up would be a challenge. All right, let's see how this horizontal one works. Low and slow, as they say. My platinum's a little bit squeaky. I need to get some WD-40.
Well loved.
It is well loved. It is a workhorse. So look at that. So here we are using Make-A-Wish. We're using ta-da! Really, really happy. And you know what? Throw some little gems on there, put it on a card base, and that card is done. All right, so we did some ink blending. What else could we possibly do? I decided to take the challenge a step further, and many of us are loving the rub-ons from 49 a Market. So I thought, what about making a background, and I'm just cleaning up here as I'm talking, a background out of rub-ons. What would that do? All right, so I've got my solution. And you probably, I mean, it doesn't hurt to take it off your plate. Look at the mess that I've made on my magnet. For someone who doesn't like mess, I'm strangely comfortable with the fact that that magnet looks very well loved. And that's all clean now. Let me just, yeah, my cleaner's even getting kind of scudgy. You can tell I've used it a lot, which is always a good sign. Give it a little wipe, get some of that extra ink off. All right, so rub-ons. I took some 49 a Market rub-ons and I made myself a little background. Now this one I did do on the cotton paper from the BetterPress kit. It has smoother surface to it, so I wanted that for the rub-ons definitely. I will say that the rub-ons didn't necessarily like the cotton paper. I had to press really, really hard and be really, really careful when I was pulling up the rub-on just to make sure it stuck. So I'm not sure if maybe it was too smooth, there wasn't enough to it. I'm not sure. You just, if you're going to do this technique, make sure that you press really, really hard and be really careful when you are peeling up your rub-ons for the background. All right, this time I'm going to do this super fancy frame. So I'm going to just place it on. This one's easy. I can just center it, use my grid lines, centering it, and I need to put this in place. Now, the one thing I was worried about this was because the rub-ons do have a bit of a slick surface, is the ink going to play nicely? Well, just you watch and see. All right. Now, you know what? Let's try the mulberry this time. Let's see what that looks like, because we've got that purple in there in the that rub-on. So once again, twisty, twisty. It is a little bit more difficult when the image is more delicate to actually see if you're getting ink coverage. So just be careful, be diligent. Make sure you go over every corner.
But while you're doing that, we have a first timer with us tonight.
A first timer, welcome to our first timer.
Sharon, I'm gonna get the last name wrong. Patno.
Hello, Sharon. Welcome. Welcome to our Learning Live. Learning Live is, as the title says, all about learning. And please make sure you take some good tips away. And you can also go back. I don't know if you're watching from YouTube or from Facebook. You can go under our live tab on YouTube and watch some old ones, watch some past ones, make some comments, learn some stuff. All right, so I'm moving relatively quickly over to my platinum. Hear the squeak, and let's see what this does. All right. Oh. Ooh. Ah. So it gives that pretty background to it. The ink completely dry, even on that slick surface of the rub-on. But man, it really looks pretty. It's given some really beautiful detail. Now this plate also comes with a die. So if you wanted to cut out the center, you could. And there is also a wishing you the happiest birthdays. You probably can't read that very well because it's backwards. You could press that separately and pop that in there, use that die to cut it. Or you could do like I did on that fall card, if I find it again. There it is.
You got a couple of very cools.
So what I did with this one, this is a similar idea, just a different shape where I cut the window out. I pressed the sentiment on a piece underneath and then just made basically a little, almost like a shaker box without the shaker and without the acetate, and then give it that raised look to it. So that's a really cool technique. So if you want to make your own background out of rub-ons, whether it's these small leaf ones or whether you've got large ones, it'll work. It'll work and create that really pretty texture in behind. Okay, so we tried making our own patterns with the stencil. We have used rub-ons. What else can we do? Well, you're probably saying to me, Sheri, you are missing the obvious. Does the BetterPress work on pattern paper? And I'm going to show you. I'm actually going to show you and take it a step further, because a lot of what I've shown you tonight and what you'll see in a lot of the BetterPress samples is card making. But what if you're not a card maker? What if you like to make mini albums? What if you like to make scrapbook layouts? The BetterPress can still work for you. So I'm going to pull out my sample first, and then I will show you how I did this. Let me see if I can make some room here. Here is a layout that I made using 49 to Market, Spectrum Gardenia. I think I got that right. At least it's the Gardenia color. So I have pressed the title. I have pressed those butterflies. And then what I did is took a second pass with those butterflies, die cut them out, and then just used a little bit of pencil crayon to color those in. So BetterPress is not just for card makers, folks. I will say, because the 49 and market paper is so nice and thick, you do get that tactile experience just like you do on the cotton paper and the watercolor paper. If you were to use another brand of paper that is thinner, you may not get that exact same impression, but you definitely would get the detail and you would certainly get the look. All right, so how did I do this? Let me show you. So I'm going to grab another piece of gardenia paper. I did not cut it down. Oh, it's sticking. Here we go. So I think I'm going to take this guy here, and maybe we'll use that one for the base page if I actually make a layout out of it. I'm going to take this side here with the, no, I wanted this side here with the blue. Now, the one thing so what I did was I measured. I took my ruler and I measured between my two plungers, because as I move my 12 by 12 up and down, it needs to go through these two guys. And essentially when I measured it, it was just a little bit shy of 5 inches. So to be safe, I cut my paper to 4 3/4. And so we're going to do that. Let's take my advertising strip off. And I'm going to trim on this blue side here to 4 3/4. You could definitely go less, but actually maybe I'm going to go to 4 1/4, because that way I can use these middle lines as a guide. So I do 4 1/4 all the way up. And now I've got this beautiful strip. Yes, you can cut 49 and market paper. Trust me. I know many of you don't like to cut it because it's so beautiful. But you can cut it and you have not lost a thing. So what I did in my planning process is I want my title to go up here at the top. And I'm going to use this, You Make Me Happy. Come on. There we go. You Make Me Happy. And is that going to fit now? I should double check that. Yes, it will. So I am going to, what I'm going to do first is, because I'm not going to be able to fit in the square in this rectangle here, because this is longer, what I did is I flipped it over this way, and I wanted it to be down a little bit, so I'm actually going to line it up with the top line, and I'm going to use my grids, use these lines to make sure that I'm centered. I'm going to put my tape down, grab this guy, and then just go like this. And now my paper is attached where I want it. I can line this up now. I can get this in place. I'm going to go straight this time. You Make Me Happy. And let's do that cosmic sky. Let's do this blue ink and see what happens. Oh, I'm a little crooked.
Drinking already?
No, I'm not drinking already. So, as I said, sometimes with these smaller plates, they do move out of alignment because you're doing that twisty turny. Let's get some good coverage. Make sure I'm all covered here. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to take my pokey tool or a stylus, and now I'm just going to nudge it into place back where I want it. So let's come down. You really don't want to use your fingers because you might touch the ink. And let's get this guy down. All right, we are ready to go. I'm going to flip. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to add a little bit more tape. Because it's long and heavy, I don't want it to move. I'm trying to move fast so that the ink doesn't dry. All right. So when I do this, I'm nicely in between the plungers, so it's not going to crunch my paper. And then slowly, slowly through where the plates are. grab, and flip. And look at that. So pretty. Now, will my butterflies fit? I think they're going to be too big. But I think maybe I'll just leave it like that. I don't want to add too much more, but it just fits nicely in that area. And if I wanted to do more, then I would just move my paper up and position it again to make sure it was exactly where I wanted it. So, does the BetterPress work on pattern paper? Absolutely. And then what I could do is, just like I did on my sample layout, you just add it as a strip to your background and away you go creating the rest of your layout. So there you have it. That is my learning live for tonight. Um, don't feel limited to just using solid paper. Don't feel limited to just coloring. Use the inks to match your paper. Choose those pattern papers. You do want kind of neutral areas. Like if I tried to put this down here over the flowers, it'd probably be too busy. But having it there in kind of that blank area, or even like this one here, it just gives it, a whole new life, and it works nicely as if you had stamped your title on there. Again, you've got that nice little tactile. When you look at it close, you can see that it is pressed into the paper.
Joanne summed it up nicely. So many possibilities.
So many possibilities. Ain't that the truth? And I think that's what I really wanted to share with you tonight was this tool is not just for cards. It is not just for some of the classic reasons why you would want letter pressing. There is so much that you can do. And if you take nothing away from what I taught you tonight, the one thing I want you to remember, and I've said this before, is what if is a wonderful question. So what if I tried this? What if I try that? What have you got to lose? Really, it's just a piece of paper. It's just a little bit of supplies and a little bit of your time. So don't be afraid to try things out and have fun with your tools. Set aside some time where you're not necessarily worried about the final product or the final project. You're focusing on the journey, focusing on the possibilities, and having fun.
Wendy B's very excited about it.
Oh, Wendy's excited too. That's awesome. That's awesome. What I will do is I will also photograph these and post them in our Facebook group if you want to see them more as a static picture. And if you have any questions, as always, you guys know where to find me. So that's it for me for this Tuesday evening. We will be back tomorrow with some exciting announcements and some fun stuff to share with you in What's New. And then we are rocking away to Friday and our next flash sale. So lots of exciting stuff still happening in July, and we hope to see you all very soon. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.